For those of you who were not involved in the first phase, you may be asking yourself, what is this Realize Rowlett 2020 thing all about?
Well, the Realize Rowlett 2020 Planning Initiative started back in December of 2010 as a way to update the city's comprehensive plan. At that time, the comp plan had not been updated in at least 10 years, and the vision established in the previous plan was significantly outdated, taking into consideration the major shift in the economy, the city's growth patterns over the last 10 years, as well as the pending opportunities that would arise as the result of the President George Bush Turnpike Eastern Extension and the new DART light rail station scheduled to open in December of 2012.
DART and PGBT connect us to Dallas and the rest of the Metroplex in a whole new way. We have increased access to the rest of the Metroplex, and they have increased access to us. This access will increase the amount of businesses and people that come to Rowlett and desire to make Rowlett their home.
Through the Phase 1 process, the city held a series of 9 public meetings, including a full-day planning charrette, which is really just a fancy word for a workshop, where citizens and other stakeholders collaborate on a vision for the community. The final result was the adoption of the Realize Rowlett 2020 Comprehensive Plan on September 20th, 2011. The Realize Rowlett 2020 Comp Plan is truly the community's plan. It is a product of engaged stakeholders and a great deal of work on the part of the steering committee, city staff, and the consultant team.
You know, as a community, we've waited 45 years for PGBT and 27 years for DART. It's kind of like the dog that's been chasing the car for years and years, then all of a sudden catches it and then asks the question, now what? So now that we don't have to talk about DART and PGBT coming to Rowlett, we need to talk about, now that they're here, what do we do? And that's really what Realize Rowlett's all about. We have limited space left to develop, and we need to get it right.
It's providing the city with an opportunity to create its future rather than just taking what is offered in terms of development that comes along.
And the goal is to create timeless places for people. This means we are making changes in how we do business in the Public Works and Development Department and throughout the city.
Well, for the Planning Department, it offers us predictability. It allows us to provide developers, citizens, the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council with a consistent message. It's the starting point for all future development.
And the goal is to create timeless places for people. This means we are making changes in how we do business in the Public Works and Development Department and throughout the city.
What it's done to spur the cities to really look seriously at their future, particularly around these rail lines, and to look at not the idea of just getting something around there, but really getting something good that will make a difference for the future and will stand the test of time.
Rowlett has chosen to so openly engage the citizenry in the process, in seeing what's happening step by step. You know, I think it'd be a shame if anybody didn't take advantage of the opportunity to come in and at least see what's going on.
This is opening it up to regional accessibility that will call great attention to the community, and we're already seeing the development interest in coming to Rowlett.
Phase 2 is all about refining and implementing the vision.
We realized early on in the Phase 1 process that the city has limited opportunities left to greatly impact its future when it comes to diversifying the tax base, as major portions of the city are already built out and well established. So we knew this plan would be critical to lay the groundwork for success. Part of diversifying our tax base will be making sure that we have housing types for people at all stages of their life. The end result was a plan that created a vision for 13 opportunity areas within the city. While all 13 areas are unique, it will take the diversity offered in each area to ultimately achieve the city's goal of fiscal sustainability and creating great places of lasting value.
When you have a sustainable community, you have a stable community. You have a stable community and a desirable community, property values go up, retailers follow, so the tax base expands, the community is safer. There are so many advantages, and it creates a stable environment for everybody.
The one thing that I've heard from all of the citizens that have lived here is we need to diversify our tax base. We need to make sure that we have commercial development, we have opportunities for quality of life, all of the things that we've waited to have, waiting on PGBT and DART.
What Rowlett is attempting to do is not dissimilar from what other communities have done. They're saying that we're looking at our city portfolio of assets, and not just for fiscal reasons, but for quality of life reasons, and because it's consistent with the vision of the community, we need to diversify our portfolio in terms of our residential products, our retail products, our employment products, which would include your office and industrial.
Right now, we put a lot of burden on the backs of our residential taxpayers. The only way to offset that is to bring in commercial tax base. They use city services differently and really will allow us to fund some of the things that we would like to do but aren't able to do currently.
Our cities are made up of streets, open spaces, and buildings. Open spaces can take many forms, including large parks, plazas, pocket parks, trails, and streetscapes. Open spaces are important places in cities as they give people the opportunity to access the outdoors and interact with one another. We've talked a little bit about diversifying the city's tax base and the elements of placemaking. Now we want to talk in a little more detail about the buildings that shape great places. We will go over a few definitions and the general principles of good building design. We are going to start with the basics. Where buildings are set on their lot or their disposition plays a large part in placemaking. We want buildings to be set close to the street or open space to define the public realm. The public realm is the space between buildings and represents the communal areas where we, as people, interact with one another. The private realm, on the other hand, would be the private yards or even a building's private outdoor seating area. When buildings are set close to the street, it provides a sense of enclosure, definition to the streetscape, and human-scaled places. In general, buildings should be proportioned in such a way that the base, body, and top are clearly expressed. In general, heavier building materials, such as brick or stone, should occur at the base, and lighter materials should occur above those. Roof forms should be simple and symmetrical or flat in shape. We'll go over special roof forms a little later in the presentation. Buildings should have articulated facades, meaning that the face of the building should be detailed with projections or setbacks and a variety of materials and other building elements such as fenestration. Fenestration is another way to articulate a building face, and they are the windows, doors, and other openings on a building's facade. In general, windows should be square or rectangular in shape and set deep enough to express a shadow line. Projections are the final major way to articulate a building facade. Balconies, porches, and bay windows are all examples of projections that add visual interest to a building facade. Storefronts are the ground floor spaces of buildings where businesses and retail establishments engage with the public. These spaces should have large, transparent windows and taller ceiling heights to connect interior and exterior activities. Awnings, canopies, and signage are a final way to add visual interest to a storefront and more practically to offer protection from the sun, rain, and other elements. Corner expressions, special roof forms, and distinct building entries are special architectural features that add definition and character to a building. They are intended to be used in a limited fashion when appropriate. Finally, as a general rule of thumb, specific building materials are not typically mandated. However, buildings should be built and designed to last. They should have high quality design, materials, and reflect permanence. We are not dictating a specific architectural style, but following the principles of good building design and using high quality materials will allow a rich use of building types to add to the existing character of Rowlett.
From the very beginning of this process, the city knew that we did not need a traditional comp plan. Too many planning documents produce grand visions that are not grounded in reality, making them impossible to achieve, and they end up collecting dust on a shelf. City staff and the City Council insisted on a different kind of process for the City of Rowlett, one that would include a vision grounded in both economic and physical realities, as well as a plan that is user-friendly and is the starting point for all future development discussions.
To that end, the city has partnered with a consultant team that not only includes land and transportation planners, but also includes a real estate economist to ensure that we're planning within reasonable limits and taking into consideration the trade area that's beyond the Rowlett city limits.
Yeah, a trade area, that's a term that we use in market analysis. You can have a specific property or a cluster of properties, which would be your sub areas or your project areas. And depending on the land uses and product types that happen there, they'll all draw from a trade area. So for instance, if you have retail uses, they'll draw from a consumer base that will extend well beyond, obviously, the specific project area. Many times they'll even, depending on the product type, extend beyond the boundaries of the city. You can generally conclude that the trade area for this is includes several cities. It actually includes Garland, Rockwell, Saxe, Murphy, and Wiley, as well as obviously the city of Rowlett. So when we say how big is the trade area, how fast is the trade area growing, we're looking at all of those communities as a unit called the trade area. The idea is when you're trying to create a market that doesn't exist today, but you're saying there's demand in the trade area, what we're saying is that we just want to get one piece of that. We want to create an environment where we could attract one piece of that here.
It's important to note that a comprehensive plan does not establish zoning regulation or zoning boundaries. It's a high-level overview that establishes a vision and provides implementation strategies that are used to create zoning regulations and boundaries in the future. It's the first step in proactively planning for the next phase of the city's future, which leads us to phase 2. In order to protect and advance the vision established under the comp plan, the city has chosen 4 areas of focus for phase 2. Area B2, Woodside Living. Area D1, Healthy Living. Area E1, Signature Gateway. And Area E4, Old Town, also referred to as Downtown. These areas were chosen due to several factors: return on investment, ability to leverage off existing investments, and readiness of property owners and developers to develop the property. At the end of this process, the city will be rezoning these properties to put in place regulations to help achieve the vision that the community established under the comp plan. In summary, creating great places of lasting value. We want to make sure that we have input from all interested stakeholders, especially those directly adjacent to the areas, in order to understand their concerns and desires so we can incorporate those things into the final recommendations for the City Council's consideration. For that reason, we chose to send letters to all property owners within 1,000 feet of the study area. If you received a letter, it does not necessarily mean that the city is considering rezoning your individual property, but we wanted you to be informed of what is happening in close proximity to your neighborhood. Area B2, Woodside Living.
I think the Woodside Living area will attract a slightly different group and demographic that's missing from our city today.
There will be mostly residential with some commercial mixed in that will make living here convenient for people, but will also be close to PGBT without being right on it.
It'll send a very, very strong message to the home building community that there's an opportunity here that's been unmet for a long time.
Area D1, Healthy Living.
I think first and foremost is the partnership with the hospital. It's a great entry into the city from the east, and it offers mixed uses. There'll be commercial, residential, office, and medical.
And we can also tie into Scenic Point Park and really make sure that people have options for healthy food, for healthy activity, to walk to work, to walk to restaurants.
The idea of healthy living is bringing the vision together amongst all those different property owners with the hospital in some way kind of leading the charge.
Area E1, Signature Gateway.
Wow, Signature Gateway is a really unique property. For those that haven't seen it, I encourage folks to take a look as they're driving south out of the city on the turnpike. It's on a point of land. It's surrounded on 3 sides by water.
What excites me the most about Signature Gateway is its potential to really become an address for the city of Rowlett within the Metroplex. With the right multi-story building, you could have panoramic views of Lake Ray Hubbard and the Dallas skyline.
If Signature Gateway is done well and partners with the hospital, and the hospital is growing a medical district that includes both their uses and private sector uses, they almost need to work in parallel, and they definitely, the dialogue needs to be happening right now. So the city's really facilitating that dialogue.
You know, first and foremost, I love our downtown. But downtown to me is really a place that is a hustle and bustle, lots of activity. And really, I think the vision is to create the downtown that we've never had before. Our downtown today consists of a few shops and businesses, but I really see a lot more than that.
I think downtown is important not only to Rowlett, but any city, because I feel like it's the heart of the city. It's where it started, you know, and it grew from there.
It's a place where the city comes together. We hold events there, we do our 4th of July, Memorial Day. It's a place where people come. And as such, as we look at our zoning, at our vision, we want to reinforce that. We want downtown to be a gathering place.
Realize Rowlett is truly the community's plan, not the council's plan or the staff's plan, but the citizens' plan. It only works when you all come out and participate. Please go home after participating today and invite your neighbors and friends to be part of the next meeting. This is a great opportunity to work together and achieve Rowlett's best possible future.